Watch this. No way!
Hello and welcome back to the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. I am Tom Mills and today I'm joined by Sam Williams.
Hello.
And golf superstar Erik van Rooyen. Erik, welcome to the podcast.
Superstars, maybe. I don't know. Sorry to interrupt, but I spoke to Gary Player 2 days ago.
Clang.
And he's like, superstar in my books is if you've got 6 majors. They tend to give them out too early these days, like 3 majors and you're a superstar. But I think 6, so I'm not quite at 1 yet. So
it's a typical Gary Player, though, isn't it?
Does he come in real life? Does he come across the way he does in the media? Is he the same guy?
He's the same guy, man. I've now, obviously from South Africa, I've got quite a lot of admiration for him and what he's achieved. But I spoke to him a couple of times now, and I saw him at Bears Club the other day, and he was busy putting and he was about to tee off, and he took 15 minutes just to chat to me. And I love him because even though sometimes the optimism can seem like it's sort of almost put on, but man, if I make it to 85 and I've got that mindset, it's like the guy's a machine.
He's benching more than the rest of the tour combined, isn't he? If you believe him.
Do you know the exact date when you were able to lift more than Gary Player? Has it happened yet?
I think I'm still peaking. I'm getting there.
Okay.
We're going to jump into it actually in a bit, but you mentioned the Bears Club there. Obviously, you moved out to Florida, I think, presumably about 18 months ago or so, was it? And how's that adjustment been for you? Because I guess the Bears Club's a bit of a kind of sanctuary for the tour pros and good opportunity to kind of make some pals and stuff. How's it all going?
Yeah, it's been well. I've been incredibly fortunate with the timing of things. Like when we moved here, my wife's American and we wanted to move back here and raise our family here. But I didn't have a PGA card at the time. And then we moved. I then secured my PGA Tour card. So it just all kind of fell in place. So I've been really fortunate. But Bears Club, man, I've been all over the world. It's definitely one of the top 3 places on my list of like how good it is with regards to practice facilities, how good they treat the pros, because it's invitation only to get in, and they had an opening spot for me when I asked to join, and it's just like you can hit balls wherever you want, you can jump in a cart, go play as you please, as long as you obviously don't, sort of jump in line. But they treat us so well. It's really brilliant.
Is there, when you, as a pro player that's a member of a normal golf club, is there an expectation that, you would play with mere mortals as well as pros, or is there just you keep yourself to yourself and work on what you need to work on?
That's what's so nice about Bears Club. And I spoke with Jack Nicklaus before Augusta, and he asked me, so how is it? Is anybody bothering you? Like, because it's his club. And the guys are so good about it. Like, obviously, you chat to members here and whatnot, but in generally, people kind of let you do your thing and they have an understanding that this is my job. And some days I'm there to have fun with guys and play some social golf, but mostly I'm there to take care of business. And the guys are really respectable.
So you're at Jupiter at the moment, but of course you've had you've been all over the world with your golf, and you've played across multiple different tours, which is including the Sunshine Tour, Challenge and European tours. And now, like you say, you're on the PGA Tour. How different are those tours? Compare and contrast. What's it like playing on the Challenge, the Sunshine Tour, for instance, in South Africa, and being around those guys? And is it arguably more competitive than the Challenge Tour? Is it more competitive there? And is the camaraderie a little bit more on the feeder tour, so to speak?
I think for Sunshine Tour, definitely more camaraderie, but also because it's a bunch of South Africans, right? So it's easy. There's not a ton of international guys that play. There's a couple guys from the UK sort of every year. There's maybe 1 or 2 Americans, but mostly South Africans. So there's a lot of camaraderie. Guys become good friends, especially guys that stay out there. Challenge Tour is hard because, at least it was for me, because I was only there for 1 year and you don't really know anyone. It's, you know, when you're at that level, you only sort of read about the top guys on the European Tour, the PGA Tour. Now you're playing with guys that are very good, but you've never heard of them. So it's hard to make friends. Everybody's just about their business, and it's intense because there's only 15 spots. So, but then European Tour, as I've been there the last couple of years, again, high level of camaraderie. The countries tend to kind of stick with each other. So you kind of hear the Spanish before you see them. They're kind of over there. The Italians are together. We've got a lot of South Africans on tour. There's a ton of Englishmen. So, and then obviously I've been there for a couple of years. So you make friends. I'm friends with Julian Suri, obviously all of the South Africans. So it's a little different. And then now I'm on the PGA Tour, still fairly new, but guys are so sort of into their own thing. And it's also weird because it is COVID still. So perhaps it was different prior, but everybody's just so zoned in on what they're doing. There's not a lot of fooling about. Yeah.
And just on that, just talking about, you know, those feeder tours, things like Sunshine and, you know, the Challenge Tour, they're so competitive. And particularly Challenge Tour, you're like all over the show, aren't you? You're going to some really random places. You know, the spectator, you know, want to tune into the odd event. The courses don't necessarily look like, you know, you're not playing on carpets, are you, like you are, you know, the weekends now. And I guess that's pretty tough when you're going places like Kazakhstan and then kind of, you know, back off over into whether it's, you know, Mallorca or wherever it might be. There's a lot of traveling and it's, you know, highly competitive stuff. And
yeah, absolutely spot on. You know, growing up as a junior, you've got this idea of what professional golf is like. And, you know, if we talk about competitiveness and then along with the sort of course conditioning, I played my first Sunshine Tour event. You know, I just graduated college. I'm a pro now. Like, I'm big time now, you know? And I rock up to this event and I'm like, this is it? Like we're practically playing a course that's like, it's horrible condition wise. And I've got to make a living. So it was quite I had to kind of grow up a bit and wake up a bit. And because it's not always as glamorous as people think. But then Challenge Tour, definitely, it's really hard. I remember thinking we played a tournament in France. I can't remember exactly where, but it was the second tournament in France that year, and the greens being shocking. And I'm like midway through like the second round, and I'm thinking, top 15 graduate to the European Tour, which is like, this is how I'm going to make my living. But I've got to like putt through holes in the greens. Like, how's this right? But then, you know, if you take it back a notch, you realize, well, the game's not meant to be perfect. You know, I play on well manicured greens. When I hit a wedge, the perfect divot like flies out in slow motion. That's not what the game. It is what it is, but like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to get the ball in the hole somehow. So Challenge Tour was a grind, and again, very, very competitive. I mean, guys are fighting like dogs over those 15 spots.
Do you think that gives you a level of grit and determination then that, you know, maybe some of the guys, I mean, you know, obviously you went to college in the States, right? And, you know, you guys are well looked after playing college golf out there. But a lot of the guys from America will naturally go through progression through the US route. Do you think doing what you've done and the kind of your rise to the top level, if you will, is that kind of giving you maybe that bit of grit because you learn to kind of just suck up and accept those kind of You learn to
Try again. You'll get there on the end. This is such a big moment for Sam. He's just.
You know what I mean, though. So, does it kind of teach you to just kind of deal with the fact that the course is in different condition and
yeah, and it's actually a good reminder to think back on those times because, I've missed a bunch of cuts now at the start of the year. I haven't got off to a good start here in the US, and it can be easy to fall into the trap of, I'm feeling sorry for myself. But then you think back on challenge tour days and you're spot on. You had to have some grit. You were traveling to weird spots every week. Like you fly in, the nearest airport's 2 hours away. You got to drive, you get there. The course aren't great. It's my first time I'm in countries where I can't understand the language. I'm getting a flat tire. I don't know how to fix it. Like, you've got to grow up pretty quick. And it's actually a good reminder just to think back on those days. Because I've got it pretty easy now, to be honest.
Do you find as well, talking about, how you didn't, found it difficult because you had 1 year in the challenge tour and it was tough to make friends. Is it made even more difficult when you look around and, you think, well, first of all, I don't want to be here for more than 1 year or 2 years because I want to get up to the next thing. And secondly, you're looking around at these guys and you're thinking, yeah, I'd like to be friends with you, but primarily I want to beat you. Is that like a difficult thing is that juxtaposition, is it difficult to deal with?
No, well, at least it wasn't for me. I became good friends with the guy named Tapio Pulkanen, where's he from? Finland. But because we were so competitive, because we wanted to beat each other so badly, through that, this friendship started. So, it was tricky because you're on yourself, you're on your own, you don't know anyone. But, at the same time, my mindset wasn't, I want to come here and make friends and happy days.
Yeah.
So that was kind of on the back burner. So to say that it was difficult, it's a yes and a no answer, because yes, it was difficult to get to know people, but at the same time, you're not really focused on that.
You mentioned earlier on that you've missed a couple of cuts this year in the PGA and that you're still trying to remain positive. You do a lot of work on the mental side of the game, don't you? And what are you working on to sort of keep that positivity, and how important do you think the mental side of it is?
I think in general, just in life, the mental side's incredibly important, and it's a thing that I think too many people are not open enough to discuss. Whether it's because you're trying to be too macho or whatever the case might be, but this game with the wrong attitude and the wrong mindset can drag you down if you let it. If you lose perspective or you lose sight of the bigger picture of where you're going, and you're purely focusing on results, it's difficult. And when you're on that fairway, you've got your caddy, you've got people around you, your coach or your psychiatrist or whatever. But it's when you're in that fairway, it's you in between the 6 inches, and it can be difficult. But I've been working with the same sports psychologist for the last 5 years, going on 6 years now. And it's really, it's really me having to sort of suck up my pride and talk about it. Sometimes simply talking about it makes you feel better, or it comes out, because I tend to sort of put a big lid on everything. Just talking about it, and it'd be an hour, I'm like, oh, I actually feel pretty good than I did. It's obviously, I'm dragging on now, but it's easy when things are going well to be positive. When you're doing all the hard work, you're doing rehab, working out, putting great in practice, playing well in practice, and you get to tournaments, you go miscut, 56th, miscut. You're like, bloody hell, like, what am I not doing, kind of thing. And that can weigh you down if you don't have people like a sports psychologist to talk through it and again, gain some perspective.
A lot of people talk about, focusing on inputs rather than outputs, control your controllables.
Absolutely.
But in reality, that must be so hard because, it's your job. Like, we're weekend players. It doesn't really matter for us, but, it's your job, right? And there's a lot riding on it. So, kind of take us there. How do you actually stay in the moment and just stay on inputs only? Particularly, a couple of weeks' time, you've got the WGC happening again. Last year was obviously a massive year for you with the Chapultepec result there. But how do you kind of stay in the moment then when there's so much riding on it?
Constant reminders, because I'm not a robot. Obviously, the mind wants to go to results because that's what you measure yourself on. That's what the media measures you on. That's what people just in general. Oh, he must be doing horrible because he missed 3 out of the last 4 cuts. But it's just constant reminding. Okay, how do I want to be? Writing down, I want to be like this. This is the person I want to be like. This is, and doing it every day. It's again, get back to Gary Player. He told me about how he almost meditated on winning the US Open to win the Grand Slam. And I was like, okay, so you practice. Do you still practice the mental side of things? And he's like, every day.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's impressive. And there's no place where you get to and like, okay, I have it down now. Right? You don't arrive. It's constant. And I think it's important because things like a healthy, positive mindset, positive self-talk, these are little things that you can practice, literally practice.
It's incredible. And you see others out there, people like Tiger is, almost some of the best in the world. That Masters win 2019. And it's, I guess kind of that's inspirational for, even people of your level, seeing the way he kind of controlled his emotions under pressure, in that scenario.
Yeah. And incredible admiration that I have for that specific victory because the turmoil that he's been through personally, the things he had to deal with, the adversity that he had to face, sort of with the surgeries, really ever since the scandal with him and his wife and whatever happened, people might look and say, oh, but he's got it all. Well, each of us have our own battles that we have to deal with. Just because I get to play golf for a living and I'm really privileged, but doesn't make my battle inside less important than whatever you're facing at your work and your job and your family. So I have incredible admiration for what he had to overcome mentally, physically, and then to go win the Masters again. Like it's people tend to forget how good he was pretty quickly and then what he had to go through to get there again.
While we're on the Masters, I suppose it's probably a good segue into chatting about your debut Masters, and 2020 was obviously it was a strange one anyway, because it was going to be in November.
Right.
But obviously you had to withdraw. So try to dig into that a little bit. Obviously it was a withdrawal because of injury. Could you what happened there then in your first Masters?
Yeah. Something you dream of as a kid, right? To play in the Masters. Disappointing. What happened was essentially it was a build-up of a couple of weeks. I played the BMW at Wentworth, and I can't remember if I had 2 or 3 weeks off, and then it was the Houston Open, and the Masters the week after. And I got back from Wentworth, and my left low back was a little sore and tight. Might have just been from playing and then getting on a plane. But got physiotherapy, kind of improved, didn't really get better. Played Houston Open, played well. I think I finished top 25 that week, so it was a good week for me. Felt like I was hitting the ball great. But a little bit of soreness in just left lower back in general. Head to the Masters, played 9 holes with Adam Scott on a Monday. So I didn't rest, which was mistake number 1. Okay. So straight from Houston to Augusta, super keen to see the course. I've never
Get out
played
the
it.
car, grab the clubs, run to the first tee.
Like, you're like a kid. Let's go play. Like,
Let's
I'm
do
ready.
36. Let's do 36 today, Adam. Come on.
Yeah. So play with Adam. Little sore, not much happening. Wednesday, still okay. And I wake up Thursday morning. I'm like, ooh, like something's wrong. I can't quite turn through the ball. I managed it Thursday to put a score together. I think I was 1 or 2 under through 13 holes, and we had to come back the Friday.
Off the weather, yeah.
Yeah, the rain came in, didn't it?
Yeah, well, darkness set in there. I had rain early on Thursday.
Right. Yeah.
I played in the afternoon, so we couldn't finish our round. I had to come back Friday morning. I wake up Friday morning, and like I can't pee. That hurts that bad.
No way.
So what's going through your mind then, where you think, it's like, this is your debut Masters, something that arguably everybody dreams about, is like playing in the Masters, and what's going through your mind then, where you're just physically in agony and just staring down the barrel of having to not play?
First thoughts is, suck it up. Let's see. So you do that. You try and do your sort of physical warm up before some like stretching, some movement.
Because you still had to go back and finish your round, didn't you?
This
Even
is
though you're
early,
in pain.
right?
Yeah.
This is 5 in the morning or whatever. I think the restart was at 7:20. So you're trying to go through your physical stretching and warm up and activation stuff before. My trainer's with me, and I'm like, ooh, no, I can't do that move. He's like, okay, try and do this. So then I get to the range, and I'm trying to hit like 30-yard pitch shots. And you're so sore.
No.
You're trying to manufacture something, right? And then it's like trying to hit full shots. The 9-iron is going 60 yards.
That's not going to work.
That's normal.
You know that. You can't play on that, can you?
And my caddy's like, okay, try and hit this. So I'm trying to sing a driver. It's going like 150. And I'm like, okay, hang on. Let me run to physio. Maybe they can sort me out. And I'm in agony. Run to physio. This is like 30 minutes before I've got to get going, right? Before the ball's in the air. Run to physio. Quick, like, can't remember if they put a needle in. They might have put some needles in my lower left back. Like, I don't know if you've had any acupuncture, but the muscle, if it's in spasm, it like keeps going like this with the needle in it. I'm like, okay, they give me some strong anti-inflammatories, go back to the range, 10 balls. I'm like, okay, let's get through. I've got 14 through 18 to play. Let's get through this, see if we can manage something, like manufacture something. I've got half an hour afterwards. Maybe I can get some more treatment. Maybe the anti-inflammatories kick in. Like, let's try. First drive, hit this thing 50 yards right into the bush. I make double bogey. Next hole, that was 14. 15, I think I double bogeyed as well. I bogeyed 15. I parred 16. 17 was a wreck, bogey there. And
yeah, I mean, 16's reachable with a 3-wood by the sound of your back at the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm trying. I'm like, what was tough was the backswing was fine. It was then posting onto the left side and rotating on that hip. And the agony just went straight into the back. So in 17, I'm like in tears walking off the tee. And my caddy is like, do you just want to withdraw now? And I like just break down. I'm like, no, let's finish out this round. And I mean, afterwards, it was just done, and it was done. So
that sucks. That
really sucks. Especially when you're 2 under through 14 as well.
Yeah.
13.
Yeah. So what essentially happened was my hip flexors got so tight that I couldn't rotate on the way through. It was restricted. So then I tried to actually find the rotation in the vertebrae in my low back, and they're not supposed to rotate. And inflammation got in there in the joints, and that's what was so painful. So nothing was torn, nothing was broken. It was just incredible inflammation. I did an MRI afterwards, nothing wrong. Sort of anything that you would see with a professional golfer that's 30 years old, like I'm fine. But because of the inflammation, I couldn't move.
But yeah, it sounds like it was just bad timing and just one of those really unfortunate things then. So you're over that now, and it was just a case of kind of just letting time run its course almost.
Yeah, getting time run its course, and getting the proper treatment. I think, I'm doing physiotherapy still constantly. I'm on a sort of rehab program because I got everything measured with regards to muscle functioning. And like, you've got big global muscles, which are the big movers. And then you've got stabilizers, which is supposed to keep everything sort of stable and not falling over. And the stabilizers were completely switched off, obviously because of injury. When you're in pain, they switch off. So I'm doing a program now where I'm just rebuilding from step one. Yeah.
You've got a fantastic major record, though. The Masters, obviously, aside from November, I don't think you've missed a cut in a major tournament since you've been playing in them for the last few years. How do you approach those weeks differently? Do they feel really different when you're going in to maybe a WGC or Rolex Series event or anything like that? Is the preparation massively different?
I don't think it feels any different. Looking back at my career, I've tend to perform better the harder the golf course is. Maybe I need to look in it more, but I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because of my determination or my grit. When the going gets tough, I persevere. And the majors obviously are all set up for the best players in the world, so it's difficult. Perhaps that's why, but the preparation is no different compared to, say, for Wentworth or Abu Dhabi or any other Rolex events.
When you stand on the first tee, though, at a major, do the nerves? Do you physically feel different? Do you get those nerves and think, this is a big one?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome. It sounds terrifying.
Well, the adrenaline is pumping, right? To come back to the Masters, like I'm there the Monday, I'm on the first tee, and my hands are literally shaking.
Really?
Yeah, because of the adrenaline and the butterflies, and like, this is what you've been playing for your whole life, and you're here, like, it's big. And I just nuke this drive down the fairway. It's awesome. And what's cool is when you can welcome that feeling instead of, it's like typical fight or flight in the pressure. And we all feel it, whether you're Tiger Woods or, your weekend warrior. Like, we all feel it at some point, but you've got to welcome it. And when you can play well within those, with those feelings, it's really a lot of fun.
Do you find that when you're there, it doesn't matter whether it's, driven down Magnolia Lane or any major, I suppose Magnolia Lane is a significant one for you because it was the last major for you to tick off. When you get there and you look around, is there ever a point where you look around and think, yeah, I've made it, I've done it, like, these are the things you want to do when you're a kid and I've done it? Or do you still think, no, there's always more to do?
Oh, there's always more. But it's important to take a minute and take it in. Because otherwise it's almost like you're never going to be happy. Now, as golfers, we're taught to, like, okay, focus on the shot at hand and then the next shot and then the next shot. So it's like, okay, like, as a kid, I just wanted to play the Masters. Now it's like, well, I want to compete in the Masters, Then it's like, well, I want to win. I want to win the Open. I want to win 10 majors or whatever it may be. So there's always this next thing. But it is, like you say, it's important to just, like, at the Masters, I was pinching myself because I was there in 2009 as a college team for the first time, and we went to the Monday practice round. And I remember how pumped I was as a kid. And I want to still feel those feelings like of achievement and I've done it. I don't want to just purely be like, okay, no, I'm here to work and I'm here to focus and like still appreciate the fact that you've come all this way. I think it's important.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about competing and stuff. You've competed very well in the WGCs and the WGC Mexico. Are you going to be teeing it up in the WGC concession? Is that what they're calling it?
Still Mexico, though, isn't it? Still Mexico.
Yeah. I was looking forward to going back to Mexico. But,
yeah, well, that must be gutting for you because obviously it's a course that suits your eye.
Yeah. I did really well last year. But the concession, we played in college there as well. We played Big Ten match play at this course. I've got vague memories of what it's like, and I remember the greens being like quite undulating and hectic. So I'm looking forward to going back. Yeah, I'm excited. I'll probably go up early next week Sunday. Get there early and get cracking.
Is that near you, the concession?
It's like a 2.5 hour drive away. So we'll drive. We'll drive definitely. My wife and I.
Will you still stay at home during the tournament, or will you stay up there?
Oh, no. 2.5 hours is too far.
Not with Eric's back, Tom.
But the Americans, they just don't know what a long drive is. They think like 5 hours is like, yeah, that's cool. I'll just drive that. They're
Well, exactly. No, you're right. But I'm South African.
Yeah. So that's obviously with COVID going on at the moment, everything's been a bit difficult. I know you may not know much different with the PGA Tour, really. How is PGA Tour life in the COVID bubble? Is it pretty strict?
Oh, man, it's not strict at all compared to European Tour.
Phoenix looked loose.
Phoenix did look loose.
No, yeah. When we were in Phoenix last week, it was practically like COVID didn't existed. Right. Like obviously we get tested on the Monday or the Sunday or whatever. And if I fail the test, I don't play. So I'm taking the necessary precautions. But I met up with an old college teammate of mine at a restaurant. We sat outside and I mean, people come in without masks on. Right. Like it's like even here
which in today's world is nuts. Like
you're right. Even in Florida,
crazy.
Man, it's life is as you remember it. Now, obviously, if I go to a grocery store, most people are wearing masks, but still, everything's open. Restaurants are open. Beaches are open. Like you sort of come as you go, really.
Phoenix. I'd like to stay on the bubble stuff, but just going and being sidetracked a little bit. Phoenix, was it weird having fans again, or was it just weird having non-fans? You know what I mean?
I think I'm used to both, but it was so cool having people there. Really? Yeah, I mean, you forget what it sounds like when there's people, and I get there and there's not even a lot of people and there's like a buzz, you know, and there's excitement and it's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to, you know, if we can get past COVID eventually, I'm looking forward to it sort of being back to normal. And
well, I'm hearing that the Open, they're still building the plan for the Open around fans being there, and that, you know, they're kind of working towards that. And you think, you know, those are the types of events that really, really kind of thrive on it. And it's nuts to think a year ago, you know, Mexico really wasn't really a thing, was it? It was like, you know, it was kind of maybe in the news, but no impact in terms of that. Now you kind of spent most of the last year then playing in front of a, you know, empty crowds. It's pretty crazy. So it must be nice to see them kind of gradually coming back on. Another few sort of changes. I want to get your take on this. The recent announcement of laser devices at major championships. What's how's that gone down amongst the players? Like, how do you see that?
I haven't really had the chance to speak to any other players about it yet, just because I've been home the last couple of days. But I don't know. On social media, I see people saying, "Oh, this is great. It's going to speed up play." I don't know why. I don't really understand why they are allowing it. Because for me, I love my yardage book. Someone was saying, "Oh, yeah, if they're 60 yards away, now at least I don't have to watch them pace to the green." I'm like, well, I'm still going to pace to the green because it gives me a picture of what's ahead, where I want to land the ball, how much space I have between the bunker. And that's something the laser can't give me. Like if I'm in the middle of the fairway from 160 yards, I just shoot the pin. I don't know, is that pin in the back corner? Is it front tucked just over the bunker? How much space it's? So I'm still going to use my yardage book. And it takes 15 seconds to get the yardage from the sprinkler.
Well, it seems to me as a layperson that when a caddy and a player are having a chat about a yardage, the majority of the time isn't working out the distance. It's chatting about the wind, where the pin is, and all those things. It's not about the distance.
Spot on, spot on. And a lot of times when there is a bit of a discussion, it's when you're in between clubs and you want to figure out, okay, this is obviously not a perfect flush 8-iron. It's in between an 8 or a 7. So where's the space? Where do we want to leave the ball? Okay, if I'm hitting a full 8-iron and let's say it's into the wind, if I'm hitting a full 8-iron, the wind's going to affect it 9 yards, as opposed to if I hit a chippy 7, it's only going to affect it 5 because the flight's lower, it's less spin. But it also means if you're hitting the chippy 7, you've got to pitch it shorter than you wanted to pitch the 8-iron. So there's quite a few things going on. And that's what the discussion's about. And that won't go away.
There's more going into it, Tom, than just you and me zap the pin and hit the equivalent of a flush 4, I can assure you. But it's crazy.
Feels like an 8.
But, it feels like that rule's been put in by someone who, maybe just plays golf through the amateur lens and therefore just zaps the pin. Middle of the fairway, zap it. Okay, I've got my number. The truth is you guys are using so many more factors out there that putting that in your hands, is it maybe going to slow things down? You guys are going to be zapping the fronts of bunkers, the backs, the lips, the runoffs, every part around the green. All of a sudden, players out there, maybe like Bryson, who just feed off having all that data around them. It'll become another tool to maximize that, and then just kind of slows it down, doesn't it?
Maybe. I'll be interested to see how this unfolds, because we're all so accustomed to that yardage book. The caddies, or my caddy at least, does a fantastic job during prep days to map the course, to understand what's my run out there, to map the greens, like where is a good place to be short-sided, as opposed to being on the opposite end of the green. I rely heavily on my yardage book, and I don't see me using the laser.
I'm taking by this, there was no sort of player consultation in bringing this through. There was.
Yeah. I don't really know what the process was for them to get to that decision. Again, it's literally going to be one tournament for us. It's going to be the PGA Championship. So who knows? We'll see.
Obviously, this is a big year for golf with the Olympics coming in. Back in 2016, when the last Olympics was, without sounding rude, I wouldn't imagine the Olympics was on the radar. Now it's got to be, right up there in the forefront of your mind. Is it something that there was a lot of athletes last time that kind of rejected the opportunity to play in the Olympics? Like, what are your thoughts on the Olympics, and is it an ambition to play in it?
It is. However, I'd rather play in the Open Championship than in the Olympics. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't rank. It's not a major championship. Like, that's the epitome of what we do. So I'd love to play it purely to have the chance to win a medal. Like, being able to say I've got an Olympic medal, that's pretty badass, right?
Yeah.
But if I don't play, at the moment I won't be playing because Christian Besaidnout and Louis Oosthuizen are the top two South Africans at the moment. But if I do get the chance to play, I'm absolutely going. If I don't play, whatever.
Do you think it was strange that last time that some of the players rejected the opportunity to play in it? And do you think since the success that I think was the 2016 Olympic golf, that there's been more players that thought, yeah, I wish I'd kind of done that?
Absolutely. A lot of guys cited the Zika virus at the time for not going. A lot of guys got sort of on that wagon.
Do you think it was the right excuse that just came along, perhaps?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, the Zika's keep me awake at night. Like,
absolutely,
I'm just gonna have to double down on the tour.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see this year what happens as well, because it's also a Ryder Cup year. So the schedule is busy. I mean,
crazy this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with regards to the Olympics. But I do think that the intrigue is there, and guys are sort of like, hey, I also want to, like, I'd love a gold medal or something like that. So I think the intrigue will kind of grow from here on out.
And are you planning on doing a bit of a trip through the UK then? Obviously, the Open's going to be on the summer. You were in for that. You had a good outing at Renaissance, I think, last year. In the Scottish. Is the plan to kind of follow in similar form again?
I hope so. My wife's pregnant with our first baby.
Oh, congratulations.
Wow, congrats.
And the due date is the Monday of the Scottish Open, July 5th.
No.
Oh,
I know.
No.
The timing.
Oh, wow.
But
you're speaking to two dads. You don't need to be there. There's nothing big. Just miss it.
To be fair, Tom would have missed his second born, I think, to be on this podcast this afternoon. Yes, that's nuts. So Monday, due date's Monday, and that's Open week, right? Isn't it? 'Cause the Scottish roll straight into
Scottish Open. That's the Scottish Open. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the week after
the week
Open. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we're hoping for an early birth, just a week, just maybe a week early would be nice.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens. I mentioned last night that, hey, we couldn't get induced on, week 39. Like, that could be okay.
They get to 2 weeks, so you could be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Like, you've got time to go and pick up a claret jug while you're there.
How did that conversation go down?
I was saying it jokingly, but I think she knows there was perhaps a level of seriousness in there as well.
Tom, it might be why Eric's talking to us on Valentine's Day today. He's got nothing better to do now.
I know, he's still in the doghouse.
I was in the doghouse. That's tricky though, because there's a lot of players you hear about are in the same sort of boat. They'll be there. Sometimes they're in contention on a Sunday, and it's like, yeah, wife could go into labor here. Like, and if that happens, I'm gone. Like, I'm straight out of here.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, it comes down to perspective, I guess. I don't know what it is to be a dad yet, but I want kids, and I love kids. I love my wife, obviously. Like, I can't imagine not being there. I'm going to play in many more Opens. It's going to be okay if I miss one.
Absolutely. So, on the level of levity to finish, I think if you follow your Instagram and Twitter, you seem to be a big guitar man. What's going on at the moment with the guitar?
I've got some in-laws staying with us, so the guitars have actually migrated into the room.
Well, they don't like the look of them. Have you got to hide them?
No, so we've got some in-laws with us. My wife's sister and her family, the kids are here, and they're working from here. So her office became where all my sort of toys are, my guitars and the PlayStation and whatnot. So I was like, okay, fine, they're coming into the room with me.
Do you ever take the axe on tour? Do you ever take it on the road with you and have a jam with any of the other players?
I wish. I turned 30 a year ago, and my wife bought me a guitar where the neck can actually detach. So you can it's like a little travel guitar that becomes the size of like a traveling backpack. But man, I've got it's you've just got so much stuff with you when you're traveling. I mean, it's my suitcase, the golf clubs, my carry on. I've got the compression boots with me, the Normatec boots. So it gets to be a lot. I'm like, I'd love to bring it, but it's almost nice to then come home and be like, okay, I'm switching off for a week. Like I can just like get back into it.
Yeah.
You know.
Are any of the other boys on tour? They're big music guys that you chat with?
There's not a lot, to be honest. Not a ton. There's a physiotherapist that's on the PGA Tour, a private guy who's from South Africa as well, and he's massively into it. Like he brings his with. He brings his acoustic guitar with, and we catch up often and chat about it. He's like, oh, I got this new guitar, and it's from like this private guitar maker guy in the UK actually, and he shipped it over and he paid thousands for it. So we geek out about it, but there's not a ton of players that I think are into it. Yeah.
And what are you learning at the moment? What's going on?
Nothing new, to be honest. I feel like I've plateaued a little bit. I'm still sort of getting a lot of the scales down. It's an interesting thing because it's something you've got to constantly practice to see improvements, right? So I get home and I'm like, okay, I actually just want to play some of my favorite songs, and like do an air kick, or whatever, instead of like going over theory but I guess I've got to do that if I actually really want to improve, but it's tricky when I've been gone for 6 weeks, Do
you ever break out the Guitar Hero on the PlayStation as well, or is it?
I don't have it. I've never had it.
You should get it. It's a lot easier than playing guitar.
Great out on that, no issue. It's just solid though, isn't it? Learning guitar. Tried to teach myself at uni. It's tough. You're a bit of an axe man though, Tom, aren't you? You're
I
pretty good on the ivories as well now.
Yeah, reading your bio, I'm the same as you. I picked it up and self-taught from 14, but I kind of gave up maybe 15 years ago. I still play it, but it's like you say, you've just got to put so much commitment into it, don't you? So
does that self-teaching concept, Erik, with the guitar, does that kind of extend a little bit into your golf? Do you find you're pretty practically minded around figuring out stuff with your swing on the fly, or are you quite dependent on kind of coaching and assistance in terms of what you're doing there?
It's a very good question. So I started working with my coach 2 years ago, or whenever August of 2018. So it's almost 3. And up until then, like I got through Challenge Tour on my own, got through European Tour sort of halfway through my first year on my own. So I find myself when I get too reliant on my coach that it has a bad impact. But then also there's a balance of where like I actually don't know enough. I think I know what I'm doing is good, but then it can kind of go down the wrong path, if that makes sense from a technical standpoint. So it's a fine balance with me communicating with my coach. He's actually getting in today, communicating with him, and then him kind of giving my space for me to kind of do my thing and feel what he wants me to feel, but in my own way and getting in my own space. So that's when I play my best.
That's quite interesting because, I mean, you see very different approaches out there, don't you? I think in terms of, players just naturally respond very differently to different kind of techniques and things they want to apply. So, fascinating stuff. But
we're very conscious of your time, Erik, and we want to thank you for coming on. But there's one question I think that has to be asked, which is all of our listeners are dying to know, is obviously the first out the trenches always gets shot. How are you feeling about the trackies? Are they staying for 2021? Are we going to see more or less of your ankles?
Oh, you're not going to see more or less. It's going to stay the exact same.
Which is maximum anklage, to be fair.
Maximum anklage, absolutely. We're trying to optimize the amount of anklage we see every time.
we play at a golf club. If you wear socks, they've got to be up to your knee. So we're just jealous that we can't get the ankles out. That's us.
Mine are more sort of calves and ankles. I've got sort of cankles, but it's a strong look. Are you getting plenty of stick for it on tour? Or?
Ah,
kind of what everyone's used to it now, right?
Yeah, the stick's sort of people give me stick still, and I think the biggest wave of it has now passed, and people are used to it now. So I love them. They're comfy. I think they look cool. So yeah, if you don't like them, just deal with it. Sorry.
You can do one. Yeah, no, it's golf fashion's an odd one, isn't it? Because I think it's the brands more than anything are really trying to diversify the golf fashion. And I think, realistically, if you want to improve participation, then you're going to have to do that, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Definitely. It's interesting because I actually quite enjoy tradition. There's so much tradition that comes with this game. The fact that it's a gentleman's game, all that kind of stuff, the dress code, I'm a big fan of your shirt needs to be tucked in. That's just the way I was raised. But here I am wearing joggers, right? So it's an interesting thing. But I do think it is good that it's evolving, that it's changing. It's definitely way more sporty than it was, say, in the 90s, right? Where it was all you saw was khakis and oversized shirts. So it's definitely more sporty, better fitted. And I think it's good that people remain open-minded about it. I appreciate the fact that if you're at your club and you've got to wear a blazer if you're there for dinner or whatever, like I have appreciation for that. But it's becoming more of an athletic sport. And I think the trends will just sort of continue to go that way.
Well, Erik, thank you so much for your time. You've been an absolutely brilliant guest. It's been great to get your insights and all these things. And again, we really appreciate you coming on, and it's been great to chat with you.
Yeah, best luck for the rest of the year.
Anytime. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
Watch this.